We talked about in our etiquette clinic, you don't need a bunch of money to get good at golf. Most golf courses are going to provide a putting green, which is where we're at right now, where you can practice your putting. You can get a putter at a garage sale for $2 and some balls for next to nothing and start putting. In order to make a putt, we first have to predict how the ball's going to curve. Not every single putt is dead straight. Here's an example here. This ball is going to curve to the hole. So there's an art to reading a putt to predict which way it's going to curve. My favorite method of reading putts is to use your feet. You're going to stand in the middle of the putt and you're going to see, where do you feel more pressure in your feet? Do you feel more pressure over here or over here? If you feel more pressure over here, you know that's where gravity's pulling me. That's downhill. So if I know downhill is over there, I need to compensate by putting the ball over here to let it work back this way. When you're setting up to your putter, you want to get your hips over your ankles and your eyes over the golf ball. Meaning, if my golf ball's right here, I'm ready to putt it. If I were to drop a ball from my eyes, would it land on that ball? And then you want your forearms to match this angle here. So we're going to bring Matthew in and see if we can get our eyes over the ball, hips over ankles, and start rolling some putts on our playing board here. Oh, see if you can do better than the pro. And this should be set up to be aimed a little left of the hole, about a cup out left, given the break. Solid. Last little bit of nuance in the setup. Imagine that the toilet is clogged up and you got the plunger out and you're trying to plunge that toilet. That gets our elbows this way, forearms up to the sky. Imagine you're wielding the loogie wrench. Might feel like you got kind of T-Rex arms is what it feels like to me. Lovely. The purpose of a mirror is to get set up consistently. So you're gonna just look and see where your eyes fall as you get set up here. So if you would, sir, just address that imaginary golf ball and let's take a look at where you feel like your eyes are landing. And the pros are gonna be in this realm right here. Inside this silver part between here and here is where their eyes are gonna be falling. And this particular board has a nice extra little feature where it's trying to show you how the club face should look at the peak of the backswing and the through swing as well. So the front edge of your club is going to mirror that red line at the peak of the backswing. If you'd go back there and stop, please, perfect. And then flow through the strike, and then you're gonna hit that other red line on the way through. Beautiful. You'll notice as well that the silver deal is slightly angled back to the inside. In a perfect world, your backswing is gonna come a little bit back to the inside, not quite straight back, straight through. He's done it. And over to Tiger Woods' warm-up drill here. All we're doing with this drill is setting the tees up just barely wider than your putter head. So in order to get to that ball without hitting the tees, you have to put together a pretty decent stroke. To hit that ball without hitting tees, you have to have good path. Well done, sir. So what I've done is just set up 6 putts here that are slightly longer than the length of my putter. So I'm just setting the putter here and putting a tee, putting a tee, putting a tee. And the purpose of this drill is to make all 6 putts in a row. If you miss one of them, you're supposed to start over from the very beginning. We don't have time to do that today unless we can maybe do it on the first attempt. But what happens over time is you do this drill enough, you get kind of invested in succeeding, and you get to the 5th putt and you miss it, and then you got to go all the way back to the beginning. It gets your attention on this drill. It'll really make you commit and have a good process. 1 for 1. Putting is a lot technique and it's a lot mentality as well. On short putts, a tip that you can do is to pick a very small piece of grass within the cup itself and narrow your focus to that point. Gets our mind a little bit more abstract. I got him a little too abstract, I believe. Cool. So that's a great drill to get started with. Again, you don't need a lot of money to practice your putting. Get some tees, get some balls, get a putter. I would invest in a mirror over time to make sure your setup is very consistent. Get your eyes landing in the same spot. That way your robot is the same day to day to day. Last couple of words on the stroke. If you watch the folks on TV nowadays, the strokes feature more backswing than through. We want to keep that putter very low to the ground. You never see the guys and girls on TV putting and that thing's getting up in there. We're keeping that putter very low and consistent to the ground. In terms of a mentality, you're going to want to stick to a routine. As a beginner golfer, it's unlikely that you're going to be able to have a real consistent routine. But here's an example of my routine that I try to do every time. So when the pressure is on, this is like my happy place. So I'm putting over here, I've read my putt. I'm going to align my ball at the starting point. I visualized where the water is going to run off, and I got to aim a little right of the hole. So I've aligned the line on my ball a little bit right of the hole. Now I'm going to limit myself to 2 what I call looks. I include this in my first look. I'm looking downrange. Okay, I'm on my first look. I'm about to finish my first look. All right, now I'm looking at the ball. That's the end of my first look. Now I'm looking at the ball, making sure the line on my putter is straight through the middle of the line on the ball. I'm gonna wiggle my feet to get comfortable. Now I'm gonna begin my second look. One last little peek at the target. And then when my eyes come from down there back to the ball, I want my backswing to start simultaneously. And I try to do that every single time. Here we are on the chipping green. I've got a club with a P on the bottom of it. Any guess what a club with a P on the bottom of it is called?
I don't know.
Pitching wedge. And we are chipping. Chipping is one step above putting. So putting, the ball stays on the ground the entire time. Chipping, we are lofting the ball up in the air a little ways and then it's rolling. Reason that we would chip versus putt, like in a tournament, I would probably putt this because I could putt it. There's a saying, if you can putt it, putt it. If you can't putt it, chip it. So let's imagine that there's some sort of obstruction here that we have to fly it at least from here onto the green to get the ball rolling. That would be why we would chip. Our setup for chipping, we're going to stand tall and close to the ball, and I'm going to choke down on the club to get the toe of the club as the only thing interacting with the turf. Instead of it being flush with the ground, I'm trying to get the toe pitched down that way. So in order to achieve that, I'm standing close and choking down on the club all the way down onto the steel. That gives me just a little bit better control of the club. Our left arm is going to be a constant extension of the shaft of the club. That doesn't change throughout the entire motion. Most people get too handsy with a wedge. I'm going to play the ball off of my back foot, but it feels like all my weight is on this front foot. And we've already kind of done the homework in learning the putting stroke. That's basically all we're doing with the chip. It's just a putt with a putter basically that has way more loft on it. Loft is kind of how the club is angled up in the air. Ball position is off of my right foot. Weight feels like it's in my left foot, almost kind of a flamingo thing going on here. Toe of the club is pitched down. My hands are ahead of the club head slightly at setup. And I'm going to maintain that orientation. I don't want to be flipping it that way. I want my hands to feel like they beat the club head to the ball. And I'm picking a spot on the green where I want to try to land it. I'm literally kind of seeing a movie in my head of the ball flying to that spot as I take these little practice swings. That way the practice swing is inspired by the visualization of the shot. Let's see if we can hit our spot here. Little putting stroke. We hit our spot, but it was the wrong club. And we're gonna pick the club that allows for the least amount of effort to get the ball to the hole given the landing spot. And this is a great way to practice your chipping. Go through your bag, seeing if you fly the club to the towel, how far does the pitching wedge travel? Now let's see how that compares to flying it to the towel with my 5-iron. Flew the 5-iron on the towel and it's traveled much, much further with basically the exact same amount of effort. Strategy you can use in club selection called the rule of 12. It's not an exact science, but it gives you a good estimated guess. First thing to do with the rule of 12 is figure out how many units of fly to our intended landing spot. How many yards from here to the towel? Now, how many 3s are there between here and the hole? Basically 1. So in the rule of 12, a 1 less 12 is giving me the 11. So a 10 would be a 1 more than a 9-iron is a pitching wedge. An 11 would be the gap wedge, is what we just hit there. So based on the rule of 12, the gap wedge is most likely the club for this shot. Boom goes the dynamite. All right, let's do some pitching. We've covered putting, chipping, now pitching. There's a clue as to good technique of pitching in the very name. What else do we pitch? We pitch horseshoes. What is that motion? Palm down, palm up, but we have to stand this way. Palm down, palm up, ball position forward, weight forward. They're yelling 4 from the driving range. They gotta come see Clay. We're going palm down, palm up. Ball lands like a butterfly with sore feet because that club is opening through the strike. Most people turn it over through the strike. They're losing loft through the strike. If we go palm down, palm up, we can hold a teacup on that club face after the strike. That means we got big time spin. Keep that weight left, stay as tall as you can. Our good friend Gus says it's like you're peeking over your neighbor's fence. Hold that posture. So this straight line through the down through the shaft is the only thing that fits this space perfectly. We just rotate, palm down, palm up. We're gonna be like a robot. Let's go to the bunker. Here we are in the bunker. First thing I want you to do, draw a line and get used to hitting the line with your club. Not really far behind the line, not really far in front of the line. Figure out how to get it right on the line every time. What you'll notice is you'll be more consistent hitting the line if you get your weight hard into your left side and you keep it there. Imagine this is a tent post drilled into the ground. This side doesn't do much. This one, that's carrying quite a load there. I'm staying on it. Not a lot of shifting. Once I can hit the line consistently, then I come to this buried 2x4, an excellent drill to help you feel the club bouncing through the sand. Scoop a little sand, about a $1 bill amount, ball position forward, weight left, saying left, left, left. There's a great drill where we scoop a little bit of sand on the club face here, figure out how to keep it on there long enough to fling it up and over our shoulder onto the green. That way at the top of the swing we're set perfectly. But now we're just thumping the board. There was a little spark there. I bet we got it in 4K. Quit being afraid of the bunkers. Just set up properly, keep up the speed. You're gonna lose a lot of energy in the ground, so you gotta keep up the speed. Last note on short game, these are the distance wedges. These are the shots from about 20 to 100 yards where a lot of people struggle. And to me, they struggle because they're trying to improvise on every shot. And unless you're Phil Mickelson, you probably don't have the natural hand-eye coordination to adjust your swing just right every time on a 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100-yard wedge shot. So what helped me was to develop a system where I changed the implement to achieve different yardages instead of feeling like I changed the swing. So my variables are the club face can either be set up open or square. I can grip all the way down onto the steel, halfway up the grip, or all the way up the grip, or I could hinge at my belly button, or I could hinge at what I call 9 o'clock, where my left arm is parallel. And then all of these swings, no matter what the club face orientation is, no matter what my grip is, no matter where I'm hinging, I'm always finishing in balance at what I call midnight. So that's up there. And on my practice swing, I'm making sure that I stick the landing up at midnight. That's what acts as like a governor to the speed of your swing. So for 20, open club face, grip down to the steel, shaft straight up and down, weight left, hinge at the belly button, get to midnight. Then I can add 10 yards just by coming halfway up the grip. Club face is still open. I'm still hinging at belly button, still getting to midnight. So it makes sense that to get to 40 yards, I'm just going to go all the way up the grip, midnight, midnight, midnight. Now I need a 50 yarder. That's a square face 60-degree grip down on the steel, belly button, midnight. You heard me? And then I want to go to 60 yards. That's full length of the 60-degree belly button, midnight. Okay, we've exhausted the belly buttons. Now we're going 70, grip down to the steel, 9 o'clock, midnight. Terrible contact, but you get the gist. 80 yarder, left arm parallel, 9 o'clock, midnight. That's my favorite shot, 80 yards. As you start to practice this, you'll find your favorite shots. So that's the end of the 60-degree. You see that all those swings, I'm not overdoing it. I'm always just trying to get to midnight. This is not a full swing. This is like a finesse shot. If I need a 90-yarder, I'm gripped down to the steel on my 56, left arm parallel, midnight, and for the 100-yarder, it's the full length of the grip, left arm parallel, midnight, phone's ringing, gotta go. Golf club.